Hey there and welcome back to Don't Open That Door. Come along with our triumvirate of terror as we descend into darkness, hurtle into horror, and plunge into peril. If you've ever used an unknown murderous entity to give you some grief counseling, you're in the right place. I'm Justin, and I'm the guy selling smoothies, but I'm out of all your favorite flavors. You know what? No. In fact, we got nothing. Go away.
I'm Nico, and to the surprise of I'm sure no one listening, I was a bit of a class clown.
Well, I'm Dan, and I wear the green robe in this group.
Whoa. And we're here today to review The Jester. So, this was written and directed by Colin Krawchuk, starring Michael Sheffield as the Jester, Layla Symington as Emma, otherwise known as M, Delaney White as Jocelyn, aka JC, and Matt Servito as John. So, we open with a man on a bridge who's being followed by an insidious creature known as the Jester. The man attempts to call his daughter to apologize for all his wrongdoings, but she hangs up on him. The man pleads with the Jester, but it's to no avail, as the Jester uses some unknown ability to hang him and then throw him off the bridge. Well, Nico, I know you know a little bit about that, so why don't you take over from here?
Bro, why do you always say that I know a little bit about the most suspect shit? Why are you trying to paint me as some sort of criminal here?
I'm saying you know about bridge work.
Yeah, sure. Okay. From here, we open up on the man's funeral where we see his two daughters, JC and Emma. As it turns out, the two women are stepsisters, and the man abandoned Emma and her mother, and later started a new family and had JC. Naturally, Emma is pretty bitter about this, and at the funeral, she is a whole mix of emotions. She then sees the Jester, but leaves soon after.
Agreed. And normally when I need a good mix, I turn to Dan. So Dan, tell me, what happens after this?
Not long after she leaves the Jester, JC and Emma meet up at a bar to talk about their feelings. Well, things actually go well at first, but eventually Emma leaves because she's still not over what their father did to her. She runs into the Jester again, but heads into a liquor store to avoid him. But this doesn't work, as the Jester finds her again. She indulges him by participating in his card trick, but he eventually slits his own throat right in front of her, falls down, but then gets right back up again. That didn't work. Gets right back up again.
Well, I know someone that I've also watched die and then resurrect. So Nico, tell me, what happens next?
That's facts. So, seeing this, Emma freaks out, understandably, and runs back into the liquor store. The clerk calls the cops, but the Jester soon shows up and kills the cops as Emma flees. While all this is going on, JC meets up with her friends, and they all head over to the local Halloween fair. So you see, this whole evening, JC has been seeing apparitions of her recently dead father all over the place. And eventually, her father appears again, and the Jester also shows up and proceeds to attack her friends.
From there, we cut to Emma, who has a phone conversation with the Jester, and the Jester's kind of using the voice of Emma's mother. The Jester tells her that he shows people the truth, and that she can either run or she can keep playing his sick game. Emma says that she's not leaving without JC. And upon saying this, she is transported to this kind of haunted maze where JC is. Emma is then faced with apparitions of JC and her father telling her that she's unwanted and just a lot of negative things, and that she should just leave. Well, I don't think she should, but Dan, tell me, what happens?
Eventually, Emma is fed up and stabs the apparition of JC, telling her that she isn't real. At that moment, Emma snaps out of her trance, because, yeah, she was in a trance, and sees that she actually did stab the real JC. Whoops.
Oh no.
The Jester revels in this, but Emma realizes that the Jester is a sickness and is emblematic of her guilt and trauma. She states that she's done running away, and she will protect JC from him. After she says this, the Jester disappears. Well, the movie ends with Emma on the phone at her father's grave. She is on much better terms with JC and her mother, and despite the Jester standing next to her, he does nothing as she walks away. The end.
All right, well, we got a lot to go through, so let's go ahead and dive into it. First off, Nico, how's this movie look?
I think it looks fine. There's not a whole lot to say, to be honest. The only thing that I'll highlight is, I think, the obvious design of the Jester. I really liked the mask that they used. It was sufficiently terrifying and made for a pleasing sort of villain to look at. But beyond that, there's no, like, travels to interspatial dimensions and whatever. So,
Right. That's fair. In my opinion, I agree. I think it looks all right. Nothing that really stood out as like some A24 type stuff, but definitely nothing that's bad. The only thing, and I didn't know where to say this, so I'll say it here. There's a little bit of a kind of intro credits thing that happens after the introductory scene. And in my honest opinion, IMO, it runs too long.
I agree.
I thought it was going to be done like twice over, but then like it just kept going. And I was like, I can appreciate, wanting to get the credits out there and wanting to get everyone's names out there. But for sure, I probably would have made that a little bit shorter. I think it ran a bit long.
I agree with that. And when it first started, I was like, oh, this is actually really cool because we kind of see
Mhm.
like the Jester. It's just like he's in a dark room and it's just lit on him and just like different parts of him as he's like, I don't quite want to say suiting up because they're already in a suit, but
Posturing,
adjusting his tie or just doing little like Jesterisms. And I was like, that's kind of cool. And then you're right. It just kind of like kept going and going. And I was like, oh, all right.
Well, aside from that, how'd you think it looked?
I thought it looked great. I really liked how the Jester looked, like Nico mentioned, and what little bits of violence or gore that we see, I thought looked pretty good. We do see somebody's teeth
Yeah.
like just out.
I
bloody
fucking
teeth.
hated that.
Yeah. It's also eyeballs. And I thought they looked pretty good.
Right. So we're going to go ahead and move over to the sound now. And Nico, what say you about what's said in this movie?
I like what I heard. I don't have too much to add, unfortunately, to the nothing that has been said about the sound, just because I don't feel like there's too much to say. Again, it's just all competently mixed and stuff, but like, I don't know, unremarkable, which is not a bad thing, to be clear.
All right, Dan, we're going to switch over to your pattern here. What do you think about the sound?
I also thought it was good. One interesting I thought, and I went back and rewatched the OG short to confirm this too. Whenever the Jester like moves his hands or something, there's something
Mhm.
jingles. Like it sounds like he has a bunch of bracelets on or something, which is interesting because I don't see anything on him that would jingle like that. So I'm curious as to what's creating that sound, but I thought it was kind of interesting. Or I guess it almost sounded like, the in the olden days, back in those ancient days, when jesters would have like the bells on their
Yeah.
feet or whatever. It
Yeah.
sounded kind of like that, but he doesn't have anything like that. So maybe that's what they're hearkening to, if you will.
Oh, hearken.
Yeah.
It's a great word.
Old English words over here. But I thought that was kind of interesting. And they did do that in the OG as well.
Wasn't there a Fire Emblem character called Harkin?
Yo, Kirill over hearken for life, bro. Don't at me. All right, keep going though.
Oh, but yeah, other than that, I mean, including that, I thought it was pretty good.
All right. And I agree with a lot of what you two are saying. The only other thing that I will add is I thought it's cool that the Jester doesn't talk.
Yeah.
Agreed, big time.
And even when he wants to communicate with Emma, he does it through a phone call using her mother's voice, which I thought was really cool personally. I liked that a lot. And it is interesting to have villains where they don't speak because that way you got to kind of figure them out without it being just like, oh, you want to know why I'm attacking you? Well, sit down. Back in 1955. Like, no, like, now we understand.
I have prepared a slideshow for this exact situation.
So, the Jester. He's got a ferocious looking mask almost, and then he's got a bright orange suit. And to be honest, that's something that immediately draws your eyes to him. But what do we think about him in this movie? How much do you like him as basically he's a titular character?
So I had kind of a mixed feelings on the way that the suit looked.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't look absolutely pristine.
It
and I
looked
feel
dinged,
like-
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looked a little bit dingy and dirty, and I don't know why. It feels like that should almost be an obvious clue that it should be, bright and garish and loud and obnoxious to just be the clear visual foil to the rest of the cast. But like, I don't know. What do you guys think?
So I think we're referencing the short a lot, but just checking back to it, it wasn't that dinge in the short. So it could literally just be a physical thing where a suit that looks like that is not super common. So it could literally just be they couldn't get another fitting suit.
I'm wondering if it has something to do with the thematic direction of the Jester, of him symbolizing grief, trauma, negative stuff, or whatever. And if that has something to do with it. And I didn't notice his dinginess, the suit's dinginess, until maybe halfway through. Now, I don't know if it very well could have been a little dirty earlier on. I just didn't notice it. There's one shot in particular that's when I realized, when he's like looking straight on the camera and it's very bright and everything. So I'm wondering, and this could be very wrong, but I'm wondering if he becomes dirtier as the movie progresses, or if I just didn't notice earlier on.
I'm also wondering if we're just thinking way too much into this, and this just happens to be the suit that the production guys got. So that's what they used.
That's kind of what Justin was saying, yeah.
I mean, that's all true. That's all true. Definitely something worth, I think, looking out for while watching this movie. Now, the sisters, we've got Jocelyn, JC, and Emma, M. So what do we think about JCM?
I kind of like them. I have mixed feelings about Emma, I think. I think overall she's a good character, but I did not like her at the beginning. When she first shows up to the funeral, after the funeral, she calls her mom and she's just like, basically, yeah, fuck this dude, and kind of joking about being there almost. And like, I get it. She doesn't have a good relationship with him, understandably, and whatnot, but I don't know, joking with your mom, who's also joking back at you about a guy who just died or killed himself, supposedly, like that was a little weird. I felt like that, I don't know, that just didn't sit well with me. But other than that, I thought they were both good characters. I liked JC, actually.
So it's funny that you say that, because I thought the same thing about Emma, particularly when you find out later she's like, I feel guilty and angry and sad. And I'm like, you did not sound that way.
Right.
You did
At
not
all.
sound like you had any of those emotions inside of you until you went to the bar. Because previously, and that was the thing. So I watched this movie with my mom and my sister, and literally all three of us were like, wait, who was the sister he was talking to on the phone? Because on the phone, she was furious with him. And then like at the funeral, both of them were like pretty copacetic. And I was like, oh, okay. So I agree with you there. But the one I had more mixed feelings on was actually JC, because I feel like she didn't really do a whole lot. Like, she went to the funeral, talked to Emma, which was really about Emma, not about JC. And then she kind of goes to the whole like haunted house, haunted maze, and gets stabbed. Like, I don't think she really did a lot.
I think that's fine, though, because Jocelyn's character isn't supposed to be a full-blown character. She's there for Emma's character development.
I agree with you. And I almost feel like if that's the case, then I almost would have wanted more Emma-ing than JC-ing than we already even got.
I can see that.
But Nico, what'd you think?
To be honest, I didn't really have very many deep feelings on the characters in general. Like, we keep, of course, referencing the fact that this is originally a short, but like the original for this is a short and this feels like a long, if that makes any kind of sense. Like, this feels more like a lengthened short than a movie that was put together like from the jump, if that makes any sense. Like, it felt mostly surface level to me, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, Nico, the cat's out of the bag, the elephant's out of the trunk, and the fish jumped out the fish tank and flopped around till it died. I think we were going to compare.
RIP
I was
to
going
my man's Nemo.
Yo, trust me. So we were going to wait just a little bit longer until we bring up the short, but we keep referencing it. So fuck it. Let's do it live. This was a short. Listeners of the podcast will know that we reviewed the short a little while ago. I think we did the Jester and the Laughing Man together. Was it those two?
I have no idea, but we definitely reviewed them.
Right. So, and we talked about it a little bit when we did the review too, but we've got a little bit of history with the Jester, the short, because we've seen it multiple times together as friends. When, we used to get together and have get-togethers, we would get together and watch horror shorts, and this was one of them. That was definitely in the rotation. So for sure. Now, comparing real quick the short to the long, or the movie, as Nico puts it, what do you think is the major difference here?
I think the biggest difference is going to be the Jester is in who he is and what he is. Because in the short, he just seems to be somebody or some like Halloween spirit type
I
of
was
thing.
literally going to say that to describe him.
Yeah, he seems to kill or play around with whatever people who are not in the Halloween spirit. Because in the short, the guy he kills was on his way to work and just, I don't quite want to say bah humbug, but like a little bit. And then at the very end of the short, there's two trick-or-treaters walking around, and the Jester approaches them, does a magic trick, and they're all about it, and then the Jester just continues on his way. So in this film, the Jester is much more than that and actually symbolizes a lot more and is haunting or whatever the main characters for a specific purpose and is symbolistic. Whatever, I tried to say that twice now. Symbolizes grief, trauma, all that jazz.
Well, and I want to talk a little bit more about that because I love talking about that kind of stuff when it comes to horror movies. But Nico, the long and the short. Give me the long and the short of it. What do you think about the short compared to the movie?
The short is a lot of fun, and this isn't not fun. This isn't unfun, whatever. But it felt more like a thought exercise than, I don't know. Like, I agree with what Dan said. The Jester, while still certainly chaotically, violently, whimsical, and murderous, is given more depth in a weird way that I'm not sure that I like.
And I'm glad you said that because we're going to get on that right now. Just real quick, I personally like the short more. And part of the reason why is because it's just a Halloween spirit that shows why you should have Halloween spirit. Cue, Bring Me the Horizon. That's the spirit, whatever that song's called. But anyways, the point being is this.
Rolling in the Deep. Is that the song?
Yep.
Close. I think I said actually. But no. So Dan, you talked about the Jester being emblematic of
there we go.
grief and such. So I want to turn to Nico. Nico, is the Jester emblematic of grief to you? If not, what else does he symbolize?
I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I feel like it's not that deep.
What?
Like, people, I know that the movie says as much, but it doesn't make sense to me. Like, it seems thematically inconsistent as to how it interacts with people. Like, for a lot of movies where like grief is the villain or whatever, it kind of just affects the person who's having the grief. So this seemed discordant to me with that because it's just kind of a little, I don't know, he just fucks everyone up. So it didn't feel as much like a trauma piece or something to me. It felt just more goofy, and I don't know. It didn't carry the weight of the themes in the way that I feel like it should have aimed to, perhaps, is what I'm saying.
So it's interesting that you say that because the Jester kind of like fucks up her friends a little bit. And then at the end, we see that like the friends, with the exception of the guy who got his teeth removed, I don't know if he just didn't have a seat at the table or if he's really fucking dead or something. But like, he's not there. But the chick who got her like she got kneecapped basically by the Jester. And she got her shit wrecked.
And like stabbed directly in the chest with a chef's knife. And she was fine.
Yeah. So I wonder if maybe that all like the Jester fixed that. Dan, we turn to you.
Oh no. I don't know, because he also uses his hat to cut off a cop's head. So
yeah, that was a badass scene. But
that
like,
was a
cool.
high point for
that
the
was
movie.
cool.
Yeah, that was
It's creative.
What's the name of the dude in Bond?
Odd job.
Odd Job. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will say this. I think that the Jester represents guilt, maybe a little more than grief, because I think that the father was calling the daughter in an attempt to dispel his guilt. And I think M says that she's feeling guilty and she doesn't understand why she feels guilty. And she ends up having to like let it go, right? And confront her emotions. And there's something else I want
back anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's something else I want to add here. But Dan, you said, I want to give you a chance to kind of expound on your thoughts. So you said you thought the Jester was emblematic of guilt and trauma and that kind of stuff. Anything else you want to add to that? Or is that kind of your piece on that?
I'd say that's mostly it. I mean, and maybe I've been using some of the wrong words, but I think guilt definitely, and I would say maybe like hatred, maybe.
Yeah, potentially.
I think he's sort of a culmination of a few negative feelings, guilt being the main one, but then maybe sprinkle in a couple others. And I don't know. I don't think I liked it very much. I kind of wished that it was just the Halloween spirit going around killing people.
Well,
And I think that would have been better and kept it more whimsical throughout and kept the Jester's character more consistent.
well, hold on to your hat there because we're going to definitely run back around to that in a sec.
Oh,
But
fuck, it went flying off. Damn, what are you doing?
no.
You have one job.
So I will say this. It didn't make logical sense to me. And this is kind of something that Nico kind of mentioned.
The hat
earlier
was a
little bit.
sombrero.
Yeah. So with the father, like, I guess the father failed a test or something like that, and the Jester left him alone. And then the Jester is testing, I guess, both M and JC.
Wait, what do you mean he's leaving the father alone?
I'm sorry, I might have misspoke.
He killed the
there.
father.
He kills the father. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. And then he
leaves him alone with God.
Yeah, I guess so. He'll let me down. Okay, I'll let you down. Drops him off the bridge. But no, so like he's testing the two stepsisters, but then like motherfuckers who don't deserve it are getting their shit wrecked. And you know, my sister was even saying like, you know, at first I thought he kind of had a purpose or a point, but now he's just killing people for killing people's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why it didn't read to me so much that he was this sort of guilt or grief or hate entity. He was just this, I don't know, Freddy Krueger with a mask on.
Yeah, and this kind of takes me to a point that I wanted to make, and this is the perfect time to make it. I think that the characterization of the Jester is confused in this movie because I think he goes from, as Dan said, what I agree with, a Halloween spirit, just being in the spirit. He wants to show you a card trick. He's ecstatic when you play along with him. And then now in this movie, it's almost like there wanted to be a deeper point about this. And I'm not saying that the character from the short has to be the character you do in the movie. I'm not saying that at all. But I think that it doesn't make sense because then there are like brief moments where the Jester reverts back to his old persona, like temporarily.
Totally.
And it's like, wait, what? Like, why did this happen? I mean, am I talking up my ass here? Dan, do you agree with what I'm saying at all?
I agree, 100%.
And Nico, I know you already agree. So I think we got to turn here now. Did you have a favorite scene, favorite kill, favorite moment in this film?
I think my favorite kill was the hat.
Describe the scene. Set the scene.
So there's two cops in the liquor store, and the Jester just kind of shows up, and eventually he takes his hat off and like goes to put it on one of the cops and like pulls it down to all the way down to his neck, and then like I think he twists the hat or something, and then pulls it up, and the guy's head is gone. And but the guy was still alive too, I think, because he started,
that's the part that gets me,
because the Jester started dancing with the headless dude and stuff. Like it was really creative. I thought it was pretty cool.
That moment, like me and my mom and my sister, we all audibly went like, "Oh!" when he like did that, and I was reminded of like chasing a chicken with its head cut off. I don't know if you guys have ever done that. Great fun, but just it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, for sure. Nico, how about you?
I feel like we just lost all of our PETA followship with that one. So, so thanks to the few remaining members who were in our audience.
That's my fault. I thought I got rid of them already, but keep going.
Yeah, no. My favorite scene, honestly, was the hat scene as well, just because I loved watching this little dude who was clearly still alive, just like jiving and with his little nugget neck piece going through there while everyone's losing their mind. It was fun.
Yeah. That's also, I think, my favorite scene too, but I'll pick an alternate just to not be the samesies. And there's a part where the Jester's doing like, I guess, you know, where you take 3 cups and you hide something in one cup and you shuffle them around. And then there's this guy, he's one of JC's friends. He plays along with it. And then all of a sudden the Jester like reveals the cup and like it's all the dude's bloody teeth. He's like, oh, what? I give great sloppy toppy now, and like all his teeth are gone.
I don't think he said that. I'm pretty sure he didn't say that.
Oh, I couldn't really hear what he said. Sorry, It was like, very gummy. But yeah, that I was reminded of the scene in Anything for Jackson that Nico also hates with the turbo flossing. Yeah, I'm gonna keep reminding Nico of that, even if we're not doing the podcast anymore. I'll still call him and remind him of that from time to time.
Get a visceral reaction thinking about that.
Yeah, Nico's got a thing for teeth, like not in like a kinky way, but in like a kind of way.
The opposite of that.
Yeah.
That is like my second favorite scene, though. I agree.
Followed up by what's her face just absolutely ripping the cotton candy salesman a new one.
Yeah.
Yo, sorry. That was also funny as fuck. And that's what I referenced in the intro. Like, I don't even know her name, but she's one of JC's friends. And she goes up to this guy. She's trying to get like a drink or something, which, by the way, can I say this movie frames it in a weird way? Because the one guy is sitting down and he's like chowing down. Then JC has another friend, another girl who's like, we got to get out of here. We got to take her home. And then like her other friend, another girl is like, yeah, hang on, let me just get something to drink. And they're like framing her as like she's a dick or something for trying to get something to drink. I'm like, no, dude, you got this other guy over here just like munching down on like, I don't know, he's eating like a corn dog or some shit. And all she wants is a drink. And like this dude's an asshole. This vendor is like, she's like, can I get this? No, this, no, this, no. What do you have? Blue raspberry. I'll take blue raspberry. Sorry, we don't have it. And then she goes, why the fuck are you even open then? Or like, she goes, why on God's green earth are you even the fuck open or something? And I was like, yeah, that was pretty funny as well. That was definitely pretty funny as well. But now I want to take it to the what would you do? And you're probably thinking, Justin, what the fuck can you possibly come up with for what would you do in this movie? And here's the answer. Let's say you wronged, and I will go ahead and pick someone for each of us, but I'll start with you, Nico.
Okay.
Let's say you wronged Dan in some way, right? And you're feeling guilty about it. What's something that you think you could do to make it up to Dan?
So when the Jester inevitably appears for me, I would make a TiK Tok with the two of us dancing to Aura Chromatic.
Oh,
you and the Jester?
Yeah, me and the Jester.
Oh, that would actually be pretty
have
good.
A fire choreo routine.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead for myself now. If I wronged Nico, how could I, help
Less
him
of
out?
an if, more of a when.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The amount of times. Can we do a super cut of Justin saying, I'm going to show up at your house?
So probably what I would do is like, what would happen is Nico would just get like a guitar pedal in the mail, and it would have a note that would be like my bad and like a sad face. And I think that would cover like a solid like 99% of wrongs.
That would cover a good chunk depending on the pedal you got.
Yeah, that would cover a good chunk of that. And I guess last but not least, Dan, if you wronged me, what could you do to erase your guilt and get me to, get the forgiveness and get the guilt out of your head?
I feel like I would.
He's going to say something fucked up. He smiled already.
I would just like send you a package.
Oh no.
That has like, I don't know, 2 things in it. One would be like a fucking
Plan B and condoms.
What the fuck is wrong with
from
you?
Amazon.
No, I'm not accepting that. Next, pick something else. That's a wild boy thing to say. Someone delete that. What the fuck is wrong with you? Dan, pick something else.
Well, I know how Nico would make it up to you.
Oh, hi there. Didn't see you come in. This is Editing Nico, here to give you a little bit of context as to the, as Justin said, wild boy shit that I just said. So, let me take you on a personal journey through the realm of Justin's shenanigans. You see, dear listeners, Justin just went on a nice little vacation. I'm not going to say where, that's his business, but he recently treated himself to a little trip, and he was really excited. So, he, out of the blue, one day, made sure to text me, letting me know that given his proclivities and his itinerary for the trip, he had made sure that he was going to be prepared. You see, dear listeners, Justin decided that the operative moves was to overnight himself Plan B and some condoms well before the actual arrival of his plane at Destination Unknown. Because for whatever reason, Justin didn't want to believe that there could possibly be those particular items sold anywhere else. Not a single spot in this great nation of ours could have possibly carried those items. And so, it was his personal duty to let me know, Nico, to let me know that he was prepared. That's all. Carry on. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
But I would put in like, I don't know, the fucking, what's the song from Cyberpunk?
Oh, I really want to stay at your house or whatever.
That
Oh,
one.
dude,
Yeah.
that'd be
Just
so
like
sad.
that on record or something.
Dude,
and then
I'd be-
also a note that just says, pick up yourself. And
Yeah,
that'd be it.
okay, I can't even lie. I would just like vibe out to that record for like 2 hours straight and be like, you're right about that. So yeah, I guess we've determined we're all pretty simple folks here. Now,
wait for you to call me, clear the cupboard.
dude, literally like there's a meme of like when you hear that song before you see the anime and it's just someone like bopping out, and then it's like after you see the anime and like people crying and sobbing in a corner. I'm like, yeah.
Who turned this song on?
Bro, quick aside, I watched a reaction video of these like girls like watching through the series. They've only seen a couple episodes so far, but they saw the first time that you see the song and they're like, oh, that song is cute. And every comment is like,
It's like, no.
just wait till you hear it again. Just wait.
Got me messed up, bro.
Shout
real
outs to
messed
Edge
up.
Runners. Incredible show.
So, in any case, I want to take it to the critical review. And what do you guys think this has for a critical review?
I'm going to say 72.
From the critics, okay. And Nico, where are you at with it?
I'm gonna be a little mean. I'm gonna say like 45.
Well, Nico, you weren't mean, but the critics sure were. They've got this one at a 29%
Ooh.
on Rotten
Ugh.
Tomatoes. Again, aggregator. I know. And the audience score is not better. It's 32.
Oof.
So they really didn't like this one. And this is not the lowest movie we reviewed, but it's down there. It's down there for sure. But does it deserve to be? Dan, quick thoughts on the movie, and what's your score?
I don't think it deserves to be that low.
No.
I won't speak on it too much more, but we already talked a little bit about some of the thematic stuff that I don't think any of us really enjoy. But I did really like the whimsical nature of the Jester.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy him as a villain in general.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of good things, and especially it being sort of an indie film, I think there's a lot of good to it. I am going to give it a 65.
You asshole. Yes, Justin agrees, and Justin will also give it a 65. I think that, yeah, I got my bones to pick with the plot, but I have seen way, way, way worse.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, I think that there's still creativity here. And I don't know if this is going to be kind of sappy or what. And this, I'm trying not to let this influence my score too much, but I try myself, me and Dan and Nico, we try and do creative things. We have creative endeavors. And I think it's just really inspiring to see something like this where, there was the short and it became a movie, and that's really cool to see. That's really cool to see. Even if I have my bones to pick with certain plot elements or the characterization of the Jester, I really, really, really hope that there can be another one. And I really, really, really hope that in that one, there's a little bit less Babadook, a little more like Jester from the short. I think if that happens, I feel like the next one will be much higher rated. But like I said, this is nowhere near as bad as people are making it out to be. And I think it's 65. I think it's still, I didn't like audibly groan during this, and it didn't overstay its welcome. And I didn't feel like I felt about other unnamed movies with hands used in seances / rituals. But that's neither here nor there.
Evil Dead?
No.
Cabin in the Woods.
No, but Nico, talk to me about what you think.
Yeah, I call Justin and talk to him about it sometimes.
It's nice that you let him in.
Yeah. What'd you think, though?
I am gonna make this a hat trick and also give this a 65.
Oh, once again.
Nice.
Yeah,
Almost.
I had fun with it. I liked it. I was critical because, this is what we do, but like, I don't take any joy in saying that this didn't live up to how much I have loved the short for however long it's been out. Like, it's just part of the, the DOTD experience or whatever. But like, when I say these things, like, the themes are inconsistent with how they should like or have been portrayed in other similar type things, it's not to be like, I don't know, a hater this time in this movie. Other episodes, 100%. For example, Dog Soldiers is a shit movie.
Fuck you. Dog Soldiers is incredible. We will fight. We will fight
Them's
right
fighting
now.
words. Pew, pew, pew.
Yeah, but 65.
You know what's actually kind of ironic? I bought Dog Soldiers to like watch when we reviewed it. And then immediately after we reviewed it, they dropped like a 4K version. And I was like, who the fuck was listening to the podcast? Just tell me now. Just tell me now. And why couldn't they tell me? Or we could have scheduled this a little bit earlier. But nevertheless. So 65 from all of us here. Does this get a recommend from you guys?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
I will also raise my voice and say yeah. So, all right. We all kind of, I feel like it just edged over the line, but it counts. It counts. So this is going to get a recommend from us. Probably not going to go to anything else. No golden seals, no diamonds in the roughs, none of that. But it's still worth the watch. And I think, you know what? Maybe watch this and then go watch the short. If you haven't already seen the short, just do both. And, I got to say, solid effort. Even if it wasn't everything that I had hoped for and dreamed for, solid effort. But if you agree or disagree, or you just want to be a hater, that's cool too. Hit us up. We're on Twitter/X and Instagram at DOTD Horror. We're also on Facebook, which is Don't Open That Door. And you can check everything we've done on our website, which is, of course, dotdhorror.com. But till then, dear listener, take care of yourselves. Always remember that when you pick a card, you got to watch how they shuffle it back in. And as always, dear listener, don't open that door. Bye.